You mean for me?
Aha! That should be better. Now my mic is on. I've got my mic on. Are we still soundless? Okay. Oh, hold on. Okay. Is that any better? We can check. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks,
You
Aveen. Thanks,
can.
Annette. Thanks, Dr. Baker. Glad you can hear us now. There are about 7 different places to control the sound, not even including my computer itself. So there's such a balance between finding the way to get the sound out there and not have everything come back through in a feedback loop. And so it only takes one of those little check boxes to not be unclicked to derail the entire thing. But that's technology. We love it when it works, and when it doesn't, we just scramble. So, as usual, again, for those of you who couldn't hear me, we've got Claudia here with us. We're going to talk about habits, what they are, how you make good ones, how you get rid of bad ones, how you replace the bad with the good, and any and all questions you guys might have. So I am watching the chat. We can take questions as we go. Just go ahead, talk to us, talk amongst yourselves, ask questions. If you are using the Twitch app, you can feel free to do clips. You can follow, subscribe, donate, all of those things, all during the course of our broadcast today. And if you do have to cut out early, this will be available after we're done for replay. So you can share it, you can watch it again, you can email us to ask questions to clarify all of that. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So, Claudia,
Yes.
tell us about habits and why they're so important to address for people who are on the Sinclair method.
Well, Jenny, it might be surprising to those out there, but not you, that the majority of people that I have been in contact with and who are clients, and throughout the past decade plus, the majority of people who are what we call responders to naltrexone, and they see this wonderful decrease in drinking in the beginning, and they're so excited. Suddenly, a couple months later, they'll contact me and say, I'm so concerned because my drinking is going back up again. And the first thing I ask, and this is for the majority of people, is, did you change any habits? And they predominantly say, what do you mean? Well, you remember when we talked about changing habits? You can't just pop the pill at 5 o'clock and then drink at 6 every night. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I haven't done that. Okay. So habits are so fully ingrained in our neural pathways, and they can be confused with triggers or memories or even cravings. But the habitual aspect of drinking is massive. And that is why it is so important for us to early on in the TSM experience, once you notice that the naltrexone is affecting you in a positive way and that your drinking is going down, now we've got to change habits. In fact, I encourage people to make a plan prior to starting TSM or right when they started to have new habits and try and get rid of the old ones. So they are a huge part of why people's TSM journey is not like perfect.
Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead right now and put a graphic up on the screen. Preparing for today, I went to Merriam-Webster and I found a definition for the word habit. It's an acquired mode of behavior that has become nearly or completely involuntary. So that, of course, leads to making it a little bit more difficult to find that balance between, is this a craving or is this a habit? Because both of them can be brought on by triggers. So, how does somebody figure out which it is?
I like to say that you do this test anytime you are confused about whether something is a habit or just a, or if it is a compulsion, if it's compulsive in essence, it means that you have either a mental or physical symptom. And the mental symptom would be obsessing about alcohol. And that voice is not just saying, like nudging you and saying, hey, it's 5 o'clock, let's have a drink. The voice is relentless. The voice means that once you said no to it the first time, no, I'm not going to have a drink at 5 o'clock. It then pops up 2 minutes later, drink, 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 drink. You cannot stop thinking about alcohol. That's the mental aspect of a craving. The physical aspect can be anything from jittery to feeling like you've got to burst out of your skin to, palpitations, that physical withdrawal from alcohol. All of those things are sort of the hallmarks of a physical symptom of addiction, excuse me, of craving. And what you really have to determine is you have to sit in that feeling for a minute and ask yourself, okay, is this just the lizard telling me to drink because it's evening? Or can I function without drinking? And function means a lot of things to different people. Can I continue typing this letter to somebody? Can I engage with my children and be present? Can I call my parents and have a conversation without that voice saying, drink, 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 drink? When are we going to drink? Drink, drink, drink. If your voice is doing that, then that is a craving. And you've told it to toss off a couple times, and you've really been speaking back to it. At that point, you're exhausted, and then you can say, this is a craving. This is not just a little fleeting thought. It's not something that triggered me. I can't get it off my mind, and now I'm getting uncomfortable. Okay, that's a craving. So in that instance, I would say, as Dr. Sinclair and Dr. Scott always say, follow your cravings. Don't drink just because it's 5 o'clock. We want to undo your particular pattern of cravings. And that means when you're feeling that genuine craving, physical or mental, you take the tablet with the hour. And if you want to start getting into different habits, we can talk right there about get into the habit of waiting an hour and 15 or an hour and 30 before you drink, an hour and 45, just so there's that one extra layer of saying, okay, I gave in because it's a real craving, but I'm not going to create a habit where everything is pat every single time. I'm going to mix things up a little bit.
So it sounds like a habit is more of an if this then that type of scenario. If it's 5, I need to drink. If I am cooking, I need to drink. Whereas a craving is going to be random in when it hits you because it's not predicated on the initiation of something else. It's going to be what you're biologically or emotionally having go on at the moment.
Absolutely. It's a big if. And here's the thing is I think we've talked about this before, Jenny, but we have a tendency to hang on to the positive memories of alcohol and not the negative ones. So I'm going to a wedding, I'm going to drink. I'm going out to dinner, well, it's habitual to have a glass of wine. You have all these years and years of memories associated with drinking, where you drink, how can I go out with my friends to a pub and not drink, all of these things. Once you get the hang of asking yourself, just the act of asking yourself, is this a habitual response or is this a genuine, look, I'm planning to go out with my friends, I would like to have a pint with them. That's completely different because you're being present enough to ask yourself. Being mindless about anything, as we've talked about mindfulness a lot, is associated with falling into habits without thinking about them. It's like the ex-smoker who still does this. They still bring the invisible cigarette up to their mouth. I have people who say, well, how can I cook without drinking? And I say, well, just try it once. Because you're not craving alcohol, that's a habit. And maybe try to drink, have a glass of wine with the meal instead of while you're cooking, because you're going to have 2 to 3 glasses while you're cooking.
And they've also shown, And I know that there's a lot of crossover between people who are struggling with their alcohol intake and also with weight issues,
Mhm.
that especially in women, and I'll have to look and see if I can go back and find this particular study so I can link it out for people later. But I believe it was that when you drink alcohol before your meal, you are more likely to consume excess calories during the meal that follows that alcohol.
Absolutely. Alcohol is a complete appetite stimulant. That's why you see people wolfing down fast food after imbibing. It's another thing is also to really be aware of is that our tendency to seek comfort from alcohol, and that constant comfort seeking, that act of saying, "Oh, somebody hurt my feelings," or that's also a habit. I've had a rough day at work. I'm going to seek comfort in a drink. That's a habit, and that is a psychological need to feel relaxed or to feel warmth or to feel that, where you can find other behaviors to satisfy that as well. So we really I think the most important thing here is to identify it and then change it.
So I'm going to go ahead and pose the big question first. And when you hear it, it'll be no surprise to you because we have heard this, you and I, hundreds of times. Well, Dr. Sinclair's rats didn't have to work on their habits, so why should I?
Well, Dr. Sinclair's rats had a controlled environment, and you do not. You do not have a Skinner box that you live in, my dear. You are surrounded by work stress and human stress and COVID and pandemic and illness and death and all of these things that stimulate or make you react to life and seek the comfort of alcohol. So the rats didn't have that, although there were tests done on rats when they were under more stressful situations. And yes, they would seek the comfort of alcohol as well. But irregular, yes, those regular rats, no, they did not have to change their habits. But once again, you're on a you're on a reactionary biological level, you know.
Right, but that one comes up so often because there's pushback. And I think that it's less about people who don't want to put the effort into changing habits and more about the confusion of learning the line between where a craving ends and a habit begins. I do believe that when we get that pushback from people, that it's from that genuine lack of being able to distinguish the two. Uh, so how does a person go about trying to learn that line between the craving and the habit? Because we see this in a lot of people, usually when they say, I took my pill because I thought I was craving. And now I don't feel like having a drink. What do I do? And usually, to me, that's usually an indicator that someone is just starting to learn the difference between how their cravings feel and their habits. So talk about that because you do a lot of coaching.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is to really stop everything you're doing, and because these thoughts come in, and as I always say, that lizard will try and trip you up, like, let's have a drink, or you know wouldn't it be nice to have a drink, or go ahead and drink before the hour's up, you're fine, all of those little trip ups. So if the fleeting thought comes into your mind and you stop everything and say, okay, is that a thought about alcohol because it's late afternoon and I usually drink in the evening, or is it really a craving, and let me just sit here? Once you determine, you know what, it's a thought because I usually drink around 5, then you can just let it go a little bit longer. And if the thought comes up again, then stop again. You can't keep doing what you're doing, distract, without stopping and thinking about what it is. Is it a memory? Is it a trigger? Is it a genuine craving? And then once you determine, okay, this is a genuine craving, the person who reached out to you and said, well, then I took the pill and I didn't feel like drinking, Dr. Sinclair would say, or Scapa would usually say, well, just make yourself have a tiny bit of alcohol. Nowadays, I think I think it's fine if you don't have that as a drinking session. If you genuinely don't want to drink, why force yourself to drink? You took a naltrexone, big deal.
Right. The whole point of TSM is getting to the point where when you don't feel like drinking, you don't. You have that power. That's one of the reasons I usually tell people, well, there are more things producing endorphins than just the alcohol itself. So look at your situation. Is it that you're watching your favorite show and you want to learn how to stop drinking your beer or whiskey or wine during that show? Keep some alcohol free beverages on hand, some NA beers. You can have a mocktail to get those experiential endorphins.
That's exactly right. In fact, a lot of people will say, well, I'm really used to taking a drink into the bedroom. And I say, okay, well, what's wrong with taking an alcohol free beer into the bedroom? Because it is literally just a ritual. And a ritual and a habit are very sort of intertwined. So we want to, much like I would say, if you're on a food program trying to lose weight, that after dinner you're in the habit of having something sweet after dinner. You would have to try and break that habit. How would you break it? You would change things. You would eat fruit instead of eating your regular piece of cake. Or you would maybe force yourself to go outside for a walk around the block just to get away from the sweets that are in the pantry. Whatever you have to do, you would find a way to kind of break that habit, much like smokers do, like we talked about earlier. Smokers have to start doing things orally to distract them, and hopefully not bad things orally, like candy or something like
Right.
that. So we want to get you in the habit. We talk a lot about, and I've said this a million times before, but it's true. If you're going to be drinking the same brand of beer in front of the TV, in the same room, in the same chair, out of the same glass, every single night, yeah, you know what? Your drinking might go down in the beginning. The pill works wonders, but it's not going to stay down because you haven't changed any habits. And that's what gets back to us talking about goals when we spoke about goals. And goals and habits are very intertwined as well, because if you don't have any goals whatsoever, even a light goal, like I'd like to not drink 2 nights a week. Okay, then you're going to have to break some habits. If you're in the habit of drinking every single night when you watch Netflix, we're going to have to find something else for you to do while you watch Netflix, like herbal tea or alcohol-free beer or mocktails.
Herbal tea here. Got some
Exactly.
nice cinnamon tea.
Exactly, but that takes an effort, and I think what a lot of people, where they go maybe astray, or they hear something online, or they believe that TSM is this miracle that will fix everything in your life. It'll change your habits for you. It'll reduce your drinking on a biological level, and it'll just make trauma and everything go away. And unfortunately, that's not true. But it does a darn good job on the biological aspect of compulsive drinking. But you have to help it the rest of the way. And changing habits is one of those massive things. And you know what, people are reluctant, or I guess I think in the beginning, it's interesting, because I had this thought the other day. The beginning of TSM for many people is much like being a teenager, because people who respond very quickly to TSM, and maybe they're 8 weeks in and they've reduced their drinking by half, and they'll say, you know what, I got to up the dose because I'm not where I want to be yet. But and they're drinking every single night still. They're drinking a hell of a lot less, but they're still drinking every night. And they're like, I gotta, come on, man, I want to be down to 3 nights a week. And I'll say to them, well, you're being rebellious in a way by drinking every night because you can. And you haven't changed the habits because you have this freedom of being allowed to drink every night. So you haven't bothered changing your habits, because this is your time to say, look, I'm not doing a 12-step program. I'm not on an abstinence-based program. I'm allowed to drink and I'm complying. That will fade. But that is a sort of teenager angsty kind of couple month period where people are rebellious and they're saying, well, I'm doing the program, but I'm drinking every night, just like I used to, but I'm drinking half as much. Okay, but eventually we want you to have alcohol-free days and nights so that you can do the dual aspect therapy of TSM. And the only way you're going to do that is to change your habits. Instead of coming home from work and saying, I deserve to drink, Say, okay, what am I seeking from the alcohol? Well, I'm seeking relaxation. Fabulous. Go take a hot bath. Take a hot bath, have some herbal tea, and then tell me if you really need to drink after that. Or meditate for a half an hour, do some yoga for a half an hour, run around the block for a few times after work, and then address the drinking. But if you don't try something else, you're never going to break the habits. And there are other ways to relax. We all know, we can name 10 of them off the top of our heads.
And we've got a couple questions, but what you've said leads into one of the ones that I had already had written down. I think you're right on the verge of almost answering this question already, so I'm gonna move it up and ask it. Can people learn bad habits while on the Sinclair method?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've known one or two people to become shoplifters because they were not receiving the endorphin rush that they did, the dopamine high from alcohol. And once they reduced or stopped drinking, they started seeking thrill seeking behaviors, much like shoplifting. Another person started risky sexual behaviors because, once again, that is thrill seeking. So yes, they can develop bad habits. They can replace it also with sugar, with carbohydrates, excessive exercise.
Can we narrow that down to surrounding alcohol?
Oh, bad habits surrounding alcohol.
Yes.
What do you clarify that?
For instance, can someone who starts the Sinclair method
Mm-hmm.
is expecting the medication to do all the work
Oh,
create their own bad habits around TSM? Because you're talking about people who will occasionally give themselves permission to drink in a way that isn't about removing the shame, but about celebrating the fact that they can still drink, which isn't quite the same. But for instance, someone who will always take their medication at the exact same time every day.
yes. A lot of people do that. They will say, well, I take it every day at 5 just so I don't have to think about it. And then I have to stop them and say, no, the whole point of TSM is thinking about every aspect of drinking and why you're drinking and asking those questions. Do I really want or need a second drink? Why am I drinking? Why do I even want to have a drink right now? Am I craving? You have to ask yourself these questions. You cannot be robotic about it. If you just pop the pill every day. Now, what's really interesting, and you know who I'm talking about, Jenny, there are doctors out there who say, okay, for 30 days, I want you to just take it every night and drink every night. To me, that's not setting you up for a mindful experience. But hey, you know what? It could work. The pill will definitely do its job if you force yourself to take it at 5 o'clock every night and drink at 6, 6:15, 6:30. Yeah, the pill will do part of the work, but you're not learning behavior and modification, and you're not learning the new habits and good habits. The whole point of decreasing drinking is that you're going to get your life back, and that life is filled with time. Okay, and so you're going to have all this time on your hands, and if you don't develop healthy habits, which are healthy passions, healthy activities, those are the habits you want to have. If you don't develop those, you are going to be sitting there with so much time on your hand, and you're going to resort to the one thing you always resorted to, drinking. Only now you're drinking on a medication.
And
So,
and the Sinclair method truly is about behavior change. It's simply driven by and assisted by the naltrexone stopping the reward cycle so that it's possible to
exactly. It's a
actually make the
tool.
behavior change.
Exactly. It's a tool to change your behavior and to get your life back, to get your time back, to get your energy back, your everything, your looks, work, friends, better relationships. It's a tool to achieve the life that you want to achieve by decreasing the destruction that alcohol has wreaked on your life. So in doing so, you absolutely have to change habits. People give me pushback when I say, do you think you could maybe, instead of drinking vodka all night long, do you think maybe you could have one vodka cocktail and then switch to beer or something? Well, that's not what I like. Okay. well, do you enjoy drinking a bottle of vodka a night and passing out and having your family angry at you? No. I mean, this is all, it's too commonsensical, and it's easy to look at it from here and look at people's situation there. And that's a defense mechanism of saying, I don't want to change my life. You do want to change your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached out. You
Right.
wouldn't have naltrexone. You do want to change your life, and that's okay. And it's okay, because what you've been doing all along isn't working for you. But this thing is still in control of your brain. That lizard is still in the driver's seat, and we need to get him out and get you in the driver's seat. And by doing that, by changing habits, by thinking things through, by sitting and reflecting and understanding the physiological aspect of craving and addiction and habits and all of that stuff, the mental obsession about alcohol, and until you understand it, you're just going to be randomly popping pills and randomly drinking mindlessly. And we don't want that. We want you to be super mindful during your TSM experience.
So I'm going to go to one of the audience questions here from Queen Stara. It says, my goal is abstinence on TSM. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed wine or alcohol. I enjoy my time during drinking, but not the drink itself. I just drink for the buzz. My question is, should I make efforts to enjoy alcohol again so that I'm more mindful?
Well, if your goal is abstinence, but you're drinking for the so-called buzz, you have to ask yourself, what is the buzz giving me? Is the buzz making me check out of life? And if so, why? Am I drinking to forget? Am I drinking because I'm in pain? Am I drinking because I'm angry, bored, lonely? Am I drinking because I just like the feeling of getting out of my mind? Why? Why? Do you have a tremendous amount of stress in your life? Do you feel like that buzz is feeding you something that you're lacking in life? Have you ever received endorphins from working out really hard, or making love, or playing with your animals, or being in nature? Have you ever felt that feeling of what a natural high is? Because if you haven't and you can't identify with it, that now's the time to try that. Because if your goal really is abstinence, then we're going to have to find a way to make you naturally high. And there are ways of doing that, but you have to have, no naltrexone in your system and no alcohol in your system, obviously. So you'd have to do that on an alcohol-free day to find something that gives you that buzz of life. I can assure you, having been a heavy drinker, and having been abstinent and having been on TSM and all that stuff, is that the longer you are away from drinking alcohol and taking naltrexone, the more high you do get off of life experiences. It's much like being a child again. Sort of going on a bike ride can suddenly make you feel like you are really getting a buzz, a real buzz. So there is hope. And I don't want you to get frustrated, but I do need you to identify why you're seeking that feeling from alcohol.
And for anyone who's watching who may not know, just talk about, the length of time you were on TSM drinking
I was on
versus how long you have not been drinking at all.
I was on TSM from 2009 to 2018. And I'm abstinent by choice now, but once again, I never say always. I'm 55 years old. I don't know if I'm going to be sober for the next 50 years. I intend to live to at least 105.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. But, right now, I just don't feel like I have no cravings for alcohol. I have no memory, no triggers, no anything. So I've enjoyed being abstinent, but it's abstinent by choice with no defining of saying I'm sober for life. Nothing like that. No pressure. So in the couple of years, and also 2.5 years, and then also the times that I was abstinent before TSM, when I would be sober for 8 months or whatever, the majority of the beginning of that sobriety, that honeymoon period, the 2 to 3 months where you're first sober and you feel like, oh my God, everything's in technicolor and all that feeling persists, because now I don't have the cravings that then kick in. So it's like the honeymoon period of sobriety, all the time. And that's the lovely thing. But, for anyone who is drinking for the buzz. It's concerning to me only because we need to identify what that buzz is, and if it's oh, it just makes me feel fun or makes me feel like I'm in my own skin or comfortable, then we need to find other ways that are going to make you feel like you're having fun and for you to feel socially comfortable. For what That's why it's really important to know the reason what that buzz is giving you. And then that's where I would start, for instance, in a coaching session with that individual, is having them really name what that alcoholic buzz is giving them.
And this is again, it's like the word keeps coming up, the concept keeps coming up, and it's because it's so important where mindfulness comes in.
Yeah.
Because you can't change a habit unless you can stop and identify it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're on autopilot in life, it helps when we're driving or riding a bicycle or doing paperwork or taxes or stuff that we just don't need to be, but it really doesn't even work then, because being on autopilot is dangerous. It's dangerous in all of the situations that I just said. You might miss something. You might not see a car or a pedestrian, or you might screw up your taxes. Being on autopilot is something we do when we're unloading the dishwasher and our mind is somewhere else. You can't do that with your drinking on TSM. You can't do that in your recovery. You have to be really mindful. Listen, even to this day, and I've spoken about this before, I still get these feelings once in a while when it's cold and there's a fire. I'll immediately go, oh, red wine. It's just a memory, because I know it's a memory. Because what I do at that point, I stop. Whatever I'm doing, I stop and I think, okay, you could take a naltrexone right now and you could wait an hour and you could have a glass of red wine. And I think about that. And the conclusion that I come up with is, I don't feel like it. Okay. But I thought it through. I allowed myself to think about what it would be like to take the pill, wait an hour, drink. And the first thing that enters my mind is, you're going to be dehydrated. You're going to have a crappy night's sleep. The sugar's going to kick in at 3 o'clock in the morning. You want to be feeling great tomorrow. So no, I'm not going to do it. But I allowed myself the time to think it over. That wasn't a craving. It was a thought. Big difference. That wasn't even a habit. It was just a memory, a thought.
Well, and a phrase that has popped up in our peer support a couple times that I've come to really love, especially when you're talking about people who have yet to have their first alcohol-free day.
Mm-hmm.
Delay, not deny.
Yeah, delay, not deny.
And it's a mindset. Because people immediately throw up that defense mechanism of, wait, I don't want to force, and they use the word force,
yes,
an alcohol-free day.
Yes, 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 yes. We're not taking away your choice. We're asking you to delay. So in other words, when you say it's Friday, wow, I can drink tonight, just say, okay, I'm going to wait an hour and revisit the thought of drinking tonight, because just because it's Friday doesn't mean I have to drink. So
just because it's Friday is the red blinking light that says this is a habit.
Yes, 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 exactly, exactly. So let's delay it a little bit, and by 7 o'clock, check back in with yourself. Go do something else. I have some friends, clients and friends that say, oh gosh, I can't, it's 6 o'clock and it just pops in my mind. And I say, okay, what do you really love doing? I love music. Okay, listen to an album from beginning to end. Listen to, an album from beginning to end with headphones on. Just sit down and do that. And when you're done with the album, ask yourself again, do I really need to drink tonight? Quite often you'll find that you're so lost in the music or lost in looking at real estate or whatever, or cooking a recipe, that it's not really that necessary. What it was habit. It was just the habit. And you made a small little success that night by breaking that habit, even by delaying. Even if you end up drinking that night, you still have a success because you delayed it by an hour or two. And that's huge.
Right. And it's those things that help to interrupt habits. And I'm going to put another transition over another graphic over here, talking about the fact that it is easier to build a new habit than to break an old one. Now, part of this is because habits are reinforced through repetition. They are so it is easier to actively repeat something new than and get that trigger from of a reward from your endorphins with a new habit than
Yes.
it is to just create a void by not doing something. And so again, this comes to mindfulness in framing the goal, framing the new thing, and repeating the new thing, as opposed to focusing on what you don't want to do.
Exactly. This my analogy is in the beginning of TSM, I became obsessed with Pilates. I don't know, and I didn't know at the time what I was doing, but what I was doing was receiving endorphins and dopamine from Pilates instead of alcohol. And I was replacing the drinking with something that was new. I had never done Pilates before, so I had to learn how to use the machine, learn how to, and I was doing, unbeknownst to me, something that everybody should be doing in the beginning of TSM. I have some clients who started, making furniture, making apple cider, growing, whatever, or an herb garden, or building birdhouses, whatever they're doing. It's something that they've never done before. Plumbing, learning, watching YouTube, finding out how to fix your own car. All of this stuff suddenly they find exciting. It's because it's new and it's replacing that old habit.
So there's a comment in the thread here about restructuring habits around sleep.
Mm.
Now, talk about how important that can be when it comes to both maintaining compliance and also just the general recovery aspect of that as well. Because you and I were talking earlier this week about a video where the speaker said something about we have about 50,000 thoughts a day that go through our head, and 80% of that is negative. And the longer you go through the day, the more decision fatigue will drag you back to what's easiest, which would be the habit of, instead of saying, I'm going to wait, I'm going to do the right thing, you just simply run back to your habits. So talk about how to reframe your habits around things like sleep so that you can then also use that as a stepping point for the rest of recovery.
Well, if I get the question correctly, you're asking restructuring your habits around sleep.
And why that's important.
Sorry.
And why that's important.
Well, sleep hygiene during recovery is unbelievably important. Sleep is imperative because you haven't been getting good sleep. Every time you have ethanol in your system and your liver is processing that all night long, and once the alcohol is processed to the detriment of your organ, suddenly the sugar will kick in and wake you up. You will not have deep REM sleep in an alcohol sleep. You can pass out and you can think that I fell asleep quickly or fell asleep during a movie. That's not real sleep. And so the less you drink, the more difficult in the beginning. It could be for a lot of people that it's going to be more difficult to fall asleep because they're using alcohol as a sleep aid. And that's a really difficult thing to break. I've had a couple of clients, they're dependent on alcohol to fall asleep. So the less you're drinking and the more you're going to have alcohol-free days, the more you're going to maybe struggle in the beginning to find your sleep mode. That is absolutely the time to set yourself a goal of going to bed at the same time every night if you can, to having as dark as a room as you possibly can, as cool of a room as you possibly can, to have no devices whatsoever for at least an hour prior to going to bed. at least an hour. And that means no iPads in bed, no phones in bed or near bed, no blue lights, no nothing, nothing, no playing games, no television in your bedroom. And this is to get you ready for bed because it can be challenging. I know that when I was drinking heavily, I don't think I slept for years, seriously. And now sleep is so important to me. And I mean, it's just so rewarding to get 7, 8 hours of sleep. And for women, it's very difficult because you also have the challenge of hormones, no matter what age you are. Men can go through a thing called menopause as well, where your sleep just becomes screwed up, and for women, it's the night sweats and this and that. So it can be challenging. So you really want to put everything into the right place to give you the best sleep possible. I've found that things like lavender help, a warm bath before bed helps, really taking the moment to separate between the day and the night. So when you're done with work or you put the kids down or whatever, this is your time. Chamomile tea, nice bath or shower, do your beauty ritual, for men, maybe, do some stretches in a shower. For women too, stretches, shower, very calm, maybe listen to some calming music. Right now, they've got some amazing calm apps out there. I mean, meditation apps and things. There are certain people's voices that can just put you to sleep. There's certain sounds and music that are all free. So you can find something. I used to love rain when I was struggling during menopause. Sorry for the too much information. I got a lot of rain sounds, and that helped me fall asleep a lot. Very dark room, very cool room, and going to bed every night for me, it was early. It was 10 o'clock, but that just made me more prone to sleep. And the turning off the phones and the devices is imperative because that light stimulates part of your brain that will not shut up for another hour. So even if you're sending one email and you're looking at that thing, that's going to ignite that part of your brain that's just not going to shut up for a while. So then you've got to calm down again. So it defeats the purpose of all of your nighttime rituals. So yes.
And talk about how the next day, after you've gotten that really good sleep, how that helps in being mindful and making new habits and maintaining compliance to the protocol.
Well, it's so much easier when you're well rested and you feel good to be present and to be mindful and to feel good about everything. For instance, if I sleep from 10 to 6, I am far more apt to be in the habit of working out because now I feel great. So I have the time. When I wasn't sleeping well and I was tossing turning till 3, 4 in the morning, I couldn't get up at 6. So now I've screwed up my day by getting up at 8, and I don't have time to work out. And it's like you're just constantly in this mode of setting habits and little goals are wonderful. And if you're well rested and you're mentally able to focus on your work, on your family, your children, on yourself, you're calm as well. You've got that beautiful serotonin kind of feeling where you can face the day because you're not filled with anxiety. Anxiety comes from alcohol and wearing off of alcohol and crappy sleep. That fills you. People say, oh, I now or I feel this. No, what you're feeling is withdrawal in a lot of instances. You're withdrawing from alcohol and you feel discomfort, physical discomfort. Your heart is racing and stuff because you don't have the alcohol in your system and it's trying to get out of your system. That's not that's it. That's anxiety. And anxiety in the middle of the night when the sugar kicks in from alcohol is horrible. That's when all the dark thoughts come at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh my God, I can't pay my bills. Oh my God, if you can sleep through all that, get a good night's sleep, you wake up in the morning prepared to face those battles with strength and calmness and mindfulness. You say, okay, I can pay off that bill a little bit at a time. Life seems really daunting at 3, 4 in the morning. Life seems really daunting when you don't have quality sleep. Trust me, folks, once you start getting a couple nights of quality sleep, it's a game changer.
Now, we've got someone out there watching. Screen name is always left unsupervised. Says, hey, I've been doing this 2 weeks now, and my dreams are so vivid. And I'm
Yeah.
also tending to dream about things I'd rather not.
Yes, this can be a side effect of naltrexone. I've heard it before, wild nightmares or dreams. There's also a lot of drinking dreams that come up, and that's just your subconscious processing years and years of maybe alcohol misuse or guilt associated with it. You can also have really violent dreams on naltrexone, and also when withdrawing from alcohol. I used to hallucinate when I was withdrawing from alcohol. I mean, bad, and explosions, and if I did manage to fall asleep for a minute, I would have a horrific nightmare. These will dissipate. So try to maybe meditate for a few minutes before you go to bed, and really focus on your happy place. That's a really good habit. Here we go with habits again. It's a habit to get into. It's very easy. All you do is lie there at night, get in a comfortable position, and just imagine your happiest place, whether that's in a forest, a meadow, or on the beach, and just imagine every detail of it: the smell, the sounds, the wind, the breeze, the trees, the rustle of the leaves, and just focus on that. Focus on that happy place so that you can always go back to that happy place when you need to come down, because you will associate it with lying in a dark room, feeling comfortable in your bed, and you'll just calm down. So you might want to try that prior to falling asleep. And believe me, the side effects will wear off, but that might put your mind in a place to dream of maybe better things for now. And it will go away. Try a little chamomile tea too before you go to bed.
And of course, we've got a Babylon 5 fan out there that says, the hour of the wolf.
Yes, the hour of the wolf. Boy, is that true. I used to, trust me, I had some lousy nights sleep when I was drinking heavily. I mean, really scary, lousy nights. I'd go weeks, and I was afraid and upset and emotional and just depressed. It's so depressing. We have to remember that during that deep, beautiful REM sleep, we are repairing all the damage that we inflicted on our bodies during the day, whether that's repairing our muscles, or pumping new blood into our system. Our liver is anxiously repairing itself, and everything, the bones, everything is working hard. Your eyes are finally resting, and your brain gets to take a nap, which is so imperative to mental health. So just remember that your body's working overtime at night, just trying to get rid of toxins and pollution and everything that we take in during the day. So be kind to yourself. Take that nice, warm, calming bath. Take that lavender oil. Drink the nice teas, the herbal teas before you go to bed. Eat something that's going to calm yourself down, like a yogurt or something. And just potassium is also good. Bananas, all of that stuff. Magnesium sprays. It comes in spray, magnesium, or a tablet you can take to just bring everything down to the next level. You'll get there. And if you can afford to get a massage, and you have somebody, maybe a loved one or somebody who you're COVID safe with, that's another way, really great way of just bringing the body relaxed. And be wonderful to have your partner or somebody massage your feet before you go to bed, because that brings all the thoughts from the head. So you've got all this activity going on in your brain. The second you redirect it, you can even do this yourself. You can get a tennis ball and put it on the ground and roll your foot over it, because all of this stuff going on in our head, the thoughts and the crazy voices and the blah, 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 all the chatter, I call it the committee, all of that's going to continue to go. But if you redirect the energy and the feelings to your feet, even by pressing on them yourself, it really does work, because suddenly all the blood and everything and the nerve endings are going pow pow down on your feet, and you start to calm everything up here down. So try
Or,
that.
as my wife, who is a massage therapist, would say, it's all connected.
It is. Yes.
It is all connected. So we've got a comment from Jeanette, who says, I still have drinking dreams,
Oh,
but now I resist the drink until I take my pill. So in the dream,
yeah, that
that's
is so funny, Jeanette. I have even now, what, God, how many years into this process, even now I have dreams where I'm at a party and I grab a drink and I think to myself, I didn't take my naltrexone. So yes, totally. Yeah, you will have those dreams. That's once again the subconscious at work, just trying to to heal and trying to eliminate trauma, and also trying to remind you. I don't know if any of you have been on a diet before and had eating dreams. I used to do that all the time. I'd have to lose a lot of weight for a film, and I'd be on this heinous 500 calorie diet a day, and I would dream of eating lasagna and wake up guilty, and then I'd realize, oh my God, I didn't eat it. I just dreamt it. Same thing with drinking dreams. I'll wake up and go, my heart's pounding because I drank in my dream, and I'll think, why did I drink in my dream? Am I craving? Is that subconscious? It's not. It's just memories and processing. Subconscious is processing all those years of of drinking, and it's healing you at night. It really is. It's You're forming new neural pathways. You're forming, once again, let's get back to habits, new habits, which are going to be ingrained as you sleep. Those habits will start to get back into your brain, much like memorizing something. That's when your brain is really able to process information like that.
And then this isn't a habit question, but the question's out there. If you've been abstinent for a while, do you refresh your naltrexone? Because it does have a shelf life. So how now you're into your, you know, into your third year of sobriety. Like, how often do you check your prescription to make sure it hasn't?
To be honest with you, if I decided to drink, I would use the naltrexone I have on hand. I don't see it going bad. I mean, I think that that's but that's, I'm not a doctor and I can't recommend that. But I had pills when I moved to England. I had medication that was from the original batch that I first had, which were compounded ones. So I knew they were different because they had white powder in them. I took those and I was fine. They must have been 5, 6 years old when I took them.
Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of it also has to do with how they're stored too, because
yeah.
like I know here in Florida it gets humid,
Oh,
it
yeah.
gets hot. If you store them in the bathroom cabinet where you're taking hot showers, you know, these are some things that can definitely affect the potency of any medication.
Well,
um,
yeah, if you're
but
concerned, then if you're concerned, then it's not a problem to get a new prescription worth of pills to keep on hand. Do so. But like I said, I've never had any adverse reactions to naltrexone in all of its forms and ages.
So let's talk strategies. You've already touched on some of these. So strategies to break habits in the following situations. Well, first, we'll start with drinking at the same time every day, which you've touched on already.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite strategy is just to delay. So if you are used to drinking at 6 or 7 or when it gets dark or something, just let's try something different that night. Let's tackle a more complex recipe for dinner without drinking. Let's go for an evening walk. Let's have a FaceTime chat with our loved one. Let's plan a trip, do an hour worth of research on a dream trip, a fantasy trip, even if it's not a real trip. Or let's organize something in the house. Let's just distract ourselves for an hour and get to the point where it's now 8 o'clock, and then reevaluate. That's all. I just want you to delay for an hour or so. Some people find that overwhelming, and I say, could you delay for a half an hour? Just delay. Just fun. But while you're delaying, don't sit there and look at the clock. Find something that needs to be done. I used to clean my closet out a lot because my mom gives me a lot of clothes. So I have too many clothes. So I'd say, okay, I'm going to kill an hour by doing that. By going through the sock drawer, or emptying the dishwasher and doing some laundry, and then reevaluate and say, okay, do I really want or need to drink tonight, and why? Why? That's the real kicker. Why? Why do I need to? Well, because it's 7 o'clock. When you ask yourself that question, it seems kind of silly. No, nobody has to drink because it's 7 o'clock or because it's dark out or because it's a Wednesday. You don't have to drink. You have to have water and you have to have food and sleep. But other than that, no, you don't have to drink. But once again, you're addressing it. You're asking yourself. And even if you only delayed 15 minutes, that put you that much closer to being in the driver's seat than before when you were doing everything just mindlessly, you know.
And how about breaking habits surrounding achieving the first alcohol-free day?
Breaking habits around achieving the first alcohol-free day. Well, I would definitely, if you really, really want that, and that is your goal, then you have to plan for it. And I think planning for it requires you to first determine if you're genuinely not craving that day. So if you're really not craving, and you think, okay, you know what, I think tonight I can do it because I haven't really been thinking about alcohol all day long, and I really want to be fresh tomorrow for my meeting, or for my kids' first day of school, whatever the heck it is. Yeah, you know what? I think tonight's the night. Well, what did you plan in place of drinking? What plan did you put in place? Is tonight going to be the night that you make a gingerbread house with your kid, or is tonight going to be the night that you know, sit down and talk to your spouse and go through your finances? Is that, you know, what did you plan? Or did you plan to maybe get in the car and go to a local park and take an evening stroll with your friend? Whatever it is, do you have a plan? Because without a plan, you're going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs thinking, well, I normally drink about now. So I guess I couldn't do an AF day. Oh well, you know, you have to prep. Preparation is the key to success. And you know, if you think that you have this goal of having an alcohol-free day, then let's start changing some habits. And changing habits means changing your routine. Okay, so if you come home, if you're on Zoom all day doing your job all day long, you got to get out of that environment. Get out of the house. I don't care if it's even walking around your block. Do something. Get in your car and drive somewhere. Go. Why don't you save your marketing to do on that Wednesday night? That's your alcohol-free night. Go to the supermarket and plan your week's shopping. There are things that we have to do in life that you can fill that particular evening with. If chores is what it is, fine. Playing a game, whatever. Watching a movie with your children, whatever it is, make a plan. Make some popcorn, whatever. But you can't just freeform it at that point if you're determined to have an alcohol-free day.
Well, one of the things that I tell people a lot in the peer support is if it is so overwhelming to you, the thought of having an alcohol-free day, that you can't even figure out how to plan your first one, can you shift 5 or 10 minutes a day?
Yeah.
If you generally come home and take your pill at 5 o'clock and start drinking at 6, start today at 5:10.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow at 5:20, because 10 minutes, you can do 10 minutes. 10
Yeah.
minutes is not a lot.
Right.
10, and if you genuinely cannot do 10 minutes, do 5.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're doing 10 minutes a day, after 6 days, instead of taking your pill at 5, you're now taking it at 6. You have now cut an hour out of your normal drinking time.
Yeah.
When you continue that, now you're at, in less than 2 weeks, instead of 5, you're now at 7. Sooner or later, you're going to say, well, maybe I can do 15. Maybe I can do 20. Wait, it's 9 o'clock. Do I really want to take... It's 9 o'clock and I haven't drank yet? Maybe I can do this. And use the small little changes. Little things build up. I mean, we talk about this when we're asking for donations all the time. There's no donation too small to help what we're doing. There is no change too small.
Yeah.
That when combined with other changes or repetitions can't eventually lead you to the path to your goal, to your first alcohol-free day.
It's the same as dieting. If you can only walk 1 block, great, walk 1 block. And the next day, maybe 1.5 blocks, or do another, or whatever. Yes, if you can just cut out 100 calories a day, if that's all you can manage, that's something. And these small incremental changes lead to bigger changes. And just like Jenny says, eventually it'll be 9 o'clock and you'll say, well, why would I even take my pill and drink at 10 p.m.? Makes no sense. I'm going to bed. Wow, big win. And I think that people get overwhelmed because it's such a traumatic issue. And when you're in the beginning of TSM, everything just seems so dramatic and challenging and everything. It's because of the drinking. Trust me. once you start decreasing drinking and you get more and more control over your drinking and your life, things will be easier to do. They will become easier to do. And those little teeny changes, once again, put you in control, not the lizard. Even the act of recognizing it and saying, you know what, I'm going to drink out of a different glass, and I'm going to drink a beer, and I'm going to drink it slower. This beer, I'm not going to pummel it. That's a big win, because so many people drink quickly to get a buzz, or they drink on an empty stomach. So let's say you say, you know what, Claudia, I'm still drinking every night, but I no longer drink on an empty stomach. I've broken that habit. Fabulous. I no longer drink every night at 5 o'clock. I've now made it till 7:30. Fantastic. Don't beat yourself up. Those are huge wins. You changed your habits. You ate something before drinking because you know what you were doing. You were searching for that particular buzz. You're relearning how to drink on naltrexone. Bravo. So please, people, don't beat yourself up. If you're complying and you're making small changes, that is enough. Just be aware, be mindful, be present, ask yourself questions all the time. Talk back to that thing in your brain.
So, what are strategies to break habits for people who feel like they've generally got their drinking under control, except when they're sitting at home?
The sitting at home thing is unbelievably pervasive. And I'm not going to kid you or lie to you, but the majority of my clients are habitual drinkers who drink at home because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So they tend to start saying to me, well, when things open up, I'm sure I won't be drinking that much at home. Well, let's not wait till things open up, because this is the perfect sort of testing ground to change your habits. Because when things do open up, you might come home from work and drink every night because you haven't changed any habits while we're at home and not working in an office. So let's start changing the habits now. And that means don't drink out of the same glass in the same room. Don't take the alcohol with you into the room where you're drinking. Leave it in the kitchen, leave the cork in it, put it back in the refrigerator or in a cabinet where you can't see it. When you're pouring a drink, never top up that drink. You're not allowed to top up your drinks. You pour one drink that you're going to log in your drink log. That's another thing. You have to keep a drink log no matter where you are in TSM. You pour that drink and you drink that entire drink when slowly, mindfully, not mindlessly while you're checking emails and watching Netflix. You drink it, enjoying the drink. And then when that drink is done, you ask yourself, do I really want or need a second drink, and why? Now you're breaking your habits of just sitting there mindlessly in front of Netflix, drinking the bottle. Oh, I finished the bottle? Well, of course you finished the bottle. You just kept refilling it and it's sitting right there. So those are the things that we want to change. We also want to change your environment. So if you always drink in the TV room, how about you say to yourself, I'm going to drink with dinner and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to switch to herbal tea. Or I'm going to drink out in the closed patio and talk to my partner while we drink. We're allowed to have a drink out there and have a little catch up from our day, a winding down of the day. But then when we watch Netflix, it's really not necessary to drink more. That's a big change of a habit. That's a huge change of a habit. See, all of these little things can add up to a completely new way of looking at your drinking life and also why you're drinking. Is it boredom? Is it just because that's what you do every night? That's not a good enough excuse.
And then, of course, people can also follow every alcohol containing drink with a glass of water.
Exactly. Well, that's also imperative, because if you want to get your skin looking good again and not ruddy or dehydrated, if you want your organs to be able to process that ethanol at night and get rid of it, you have to be hydrated. Hydration is so important. In fact, it disrupts, to be dehydrated and even slightly disrupts so many aspects of your physical being, your well-being. So especially in recovery, when we've been supplementing our liquid with beer and things like that, we don't feel thirsty, but your body really is thirsty for just water. So keep that in mind. And of course you can do it with herbal teas or anything like that, but But just keep in mind that your body thrives when it's hydrated, and you're going to look better and feel better. You're not going to have red eyes. You can always tell people who've been drinking a lot because their skin gets that sallow, dehydrated looking, and their eyes are usually red. It's just dehydration. You get headaches, dehydration, body aches, pains. Oh, my knees hurt, dehydration. Try drinking a couple glasses of water. You'd be surprised how many things it helps.
And of course, you've also mentioned, not drinking on an empty stomach, because having food in your stomach not only fills your stomach up, so it helps you to not drink as quickly or as much there, but it also slows down the way the alcohol is absorbed by the body.
Yes, it's a sneaky thing that we people, would do. People who misused alcohol would deliberately drink on an empty stomach because the alcohol shoots right to your brain, and that's that feeling you want, that buzz you want. Once again, you have to identify your actions and say, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? That's not normal drinking. And if you want to be a normal drinker, people don't get up in the morning. Normal people don't get up in the morning and pummel a couple of beers. That's not normal drinking. So, you know, you stop pounding your drinks, drink slower, drink mindfully, and you will create a new habit in that way. And most people do say to me, my goal is just to be normal. But if you don't know what normal drinking is, normal drinking is not when you're hungry or angry or tired or lonely or bored. Or a normal drinker is somebody who usually drinks for celebratory reasons, like going out, graduation, wedding, dinner, beautiful dinner, or the occasional glass of something with a meal.
Well,
That,
as
that's
as
normal
a
drinking.
as a normal drinker, I still kind of hold to the fact that there really is no such thing as a normal drinker. It's either you're addicted or you're not. Because as someone who has never been addicted, I have overdrank because of physical pain. I've overdrank because of emotional pain. I've overdrank because it's the fun thing to do. I've overdrank because someone was buying tequila shots and that was my kryptonite. Um, and so I think when someone wants to be a quote unquote normal drinker, I think that they need to define what they believe normal to be.
Absolutely, because
And until that's articulated by them,
yes.
they'll never reach it.
No, because you have to understand that yes, a normal use of a substance is not to black out or to forget or to assuage the pain of a breakup. That's not normal use of a substance. In fact, we should learn how to feel all of these emotions and feelings, because once people always say, "Oh, I'm sober and I feel so raw," but that rawness is life. That is the human experience. That is what we're supposed to feel. We're not supposed to want to deaden the pain, or because then you can process the pain when you feel loss, grief, pain. You process it. It's much like I equate to taking an opiate when you have a broken bone. I don't want to take an opiate when I have a broken bone or surgery. I want to feel the pain so that I know not to hit it or to step on something, or when I'm not ready or the bone's not quite, ready to put weight on it. I kind of want to feel that pain. I don't
Right,
want to.
because it's your body's warning signal.
Body's warning signals, and you need to feel that. So that's the same thing as life. You don't drink because, oh, somebody pissed me off. That's not a reason to drink. So I guess I get what you're saying about being normal and abnormal. To me, a normal drinker is somebody who just isn't addicted to alcohol. They don't wake up in the morning and drink. They forget to drink. That kind of person.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, but all these little changes that are going to happen in people, and this is another thing about setting up your habits prior to this thing happening, which is extinction, is a lot of people on TSM do see really quick changes in their life. And if they haven't broken habits, like I said in the very beginning of our conversation, they will see this great reduction, and then habitually their drinking will increase because they just haven't changed their habits. And so they will have reduced from a bottle of wine to one glass of wine a night, but now that one glass is two glasses and then three glasses, and they're back to the bottle again. And habit. That is
Yeah.
not the pill not no longer doing the work. That is you being in the habit of drinking that entire bottle, or you trying to drink through that naltrexone. And if you haven't determined the whys and the wheres, then you can't change that habit.
And for any of you who have not seen our full schedule, that is actually going to be Claudia and my focus for next week's stream is how to make adjustments based on whether you start slow or whether you start fast because it honestly success does not depend on how you start, it's how you finish. It's the journey you take along the way. And so, what Claudia's talking about right now is so important that we are actually dedicating our entire next week's stream exactly to that topic to expand on it. So, if you're watching now and you want questions that you're going to have in that realm, you can send those to us all week long, and we will cover those next week in that adjustment topic. So we've got two other things here to catch real quick before we finish up. And, COVID's not going to last forever. You're going to have some people who are finding their success while drinking at home and breaking those at home habits. And eventually, we're all going to be let loose back out into the world. And so it's going to happen that people who feel like they've got it under control and have reached extinction at home, they're going to go out and they're going to find that they have a completely different set of habits when they're out with friends and out drinking at a restaurant or a bar. So how do you approach breaking those habits?
There's nothing is going to be linear or the same in any of your drinking experiences. So don't have this grand expectation that you're going to go to the first pub or restaurant that you get out to and you're going to have exactly one drink because that's what you had at home finally after 7 months on TSM. Once again, all we ask you to do is to say, do I really want to need the second drink? And why? In your own mind. You got 7 friends sitting at the table, you're all laughing, ha ha ha, everyone's going to the waiter, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just before you raise your hand and say another round, just ask yourself that. And then you're still employing that mindfulness, even though it's to yourself and even though it's just one quick moment. And even if you decide, yes, I really do want the second drink because I'm having a ball, this is fun, and I'm not driving, I'm being safe, but I'm going to have another drink. That's fine. But you asked yourself the question. So that's just one more way of remaining mindful when you start going out again. Now, does that mean that you're not going to have the occasional night where you overdrink? When people panic about that, I say to them, even when I was a normie, before the addiction crept in, when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I would go, whatever, a few months without drinking or thinking about alcohol. And then let's say if a girlfriend and I got together and I hadn't seen her in ages, we'd sit there and drink 3 bottles of wine and I'd feel horrible the next day, blah, awful, whatever, but way too much, smoke cigarettes, do stuff that you just don't do. But then I wouldn't drink again for, a long time. So you might have that occasional New Year's Eve, Halloween, anniversary, whatever, over drinking period. But hopefully that's an anomaly, but also you understand that that was like a one-off. It was Super Bowl or whatever the event was.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
there are also some things that you can do, like not letting your friends top off your drinks. You talked about topping off your drinks at home and how that can be detrimental. If you're sitting at a restaurant, if you've got a group and there's a bottle of wine on the table, it's not uncommon for wait staff to come by and top everybody's drinks off. And sometimes just making little changes like that by not allowing somebody else
yes.
control over your drink.
Yeah, it's very important to say to the bartender, you know what, thank you for your generosity, but I really just want a one shot, a single drink. Please don't be generous and give me a double. Or say to the waiter as they're coming around to the wine bottle, you know what, I'm going to finish this glass first and then I'll see if I want a second one. Very easy to do, and that puts you back in the driver's seat. Not to say that, believe me, especially when you're out in the real world and things change and you have all this influx of probably celebration and seeing friends and everything. That is a time to be super fastidious because that lizard will see that as an opportunity of saying, aha, it's very easy for me to convince her to do a shot right now. Or maybe, you don't have the intention of drinking with your friends. You meet them for brunch or something, and suddenly everybody's ordering mimosas and Bloody Marys, and you say, "Yo, that kind of sounds fun, but I didn't take my tablet." So you pop your tablet, and you're sitting there going, "Okay, I have an hour," and then 40 minutes rolls around, and you go, "Well, I can start drinking. It's been 40 minutes." No, you can't. You can't let things slide or slip just because you're in the real world now. So that is something to be incredibly mindful about. You take that fastidiousness, that compliance, you kept a drink log when you were at home during COVID. You're going to keep a drink log while you're out in the real world as well. You're going to come back from that dinner out with friends and you're going to log your drinks before you go to bed. That's just the way it's going to be. That is a consistency that you have to have in TSM. Trust me, I've been inconsistent with TSM in my life, and it wasn't pretty. You need consistency and accountability and mindfulness to have a successful long-term journey.
And then, how about breaking habits surrounding having too much of your favorite drink?
That's a very good question. I do encourage people to change their drinks when they say, I've reduced the champagne and wine, but I can't break the vodka habit, or I can't stop drinking whiskey. Here's the thing: you have to understand why you approached this in the first place, why you recognized that your drinking was damaging or harmful to your life or your relationships or your health or all of them, or to work, whatever. There is a defiance that occurs in people, and they look at TSM as this permission to do what they want to do because they've had so many years of people saying you can't drink or you're not able to. So here you've got this, on one hand, freedom to drink, but then so now you use that as an excuse to say, well, I'm allowed to drink my whiskey. You're allowed to drink your whiskey, but you're not allowed to abuse your whiskey. So so by saying, well, it's just something I like to drink, that's okay. But if you're still drinking a lot of any alcohol, any kind of alcohol, your favorite drink or beer or wine or whiskey, whatever, if you're still drinking a lot of it, then you're really not doing TSM because you're not changing your habits once again. So having your favorite drink around in the beginning can sometimes be difficult for people, so they do try something else. For instance, if they love whiskey and whiskey has been really, really bad for them in the past, they'll say, well, I also kind of like beer. Great, I'll jump on that and say, let's try beer. Let's drink beer for a while and try TSM with that. It does start your TSM experience out in a better manner because you're making a choice right off the bat. You're changing a habit right off the bat. So that is good. Now, if the question was also revolved around keeping your favorite drink accessible and in your home, if that's an issue, use common sense and say, you know what, I'm not going to buy red wine right now because I know that's my poison. So I'm going to drink cider for a couple months and see how that goes. You have to keep the main impetus for starting TSM in the foreground of your mind at all times.
And again, this is a delay, not deny. No one's saying that if you switch it up at the beginning, you can't eventually have a drink of that whiskey later on once you have gotten to the point where you have broken habits and broken the addiction conditioning of the reward.
Absolutely. I changed favorite drinks many times in my TSM experience, and some people will find that they suddenly don't like wine or they suddenly can't drink vodka. It disgusts them on TSM, on naltrexone specifically. And in that regard, that's kind of great too. I always tell people to be aware of flooding their brain with alcohol, and that's usually taking shots or drinking hard alcohol quickly or drinking any alcohol quickly or on an empty stomach. So those are habits you need to break immediately because those are just bad habits, and facing that and understanding that it's not coming from a judgmental or critical place. It's coming from love. I just want you to have the best TSM experience possible. And I want you to recognize what good drinking habits are and bad drinking habits are, and break the bad ones, because your goal, your mission is to be happy and to enjoy your life and to be healthy and to live a long time and not to have alcohol have power over you. That's the goal. So let's make some changes, and changing habits is it can be a wonderful thing instead of a daunting thing. So I think we all need to say, even right now, I change my habits all the time, just because I find myself getting into a rut and getting maybe a little lazy about things. I go, okay, Claudia, we're going to do something different. Eating habits in particular. Afternoon, I always have to have chocolate. Well, I'm not. Some days I just say, you know what? I can see the scale going up. I'm not going to have chocolate today. I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to go out for a walk and see if I really need the chocolate after the walk. And guess what? I don't. So it's one little teeny step and effort at a time can add up to a whole different new set of habits and relationship to alcohol.
And as we wrap up here, we just happen to have two great success stories back to back here in the chat. The first being Jeanette says, "I'm feeling so much better about my drinking now. I no longer black out. I'm no longer the embarrassment at any function. I'm no longer a slave. I'm not stressed if I don't have alcohol in my house. Heck, I'm no longer stressed if it is in my house."
That's amazing. Jeanette, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That last line that you said, "I'm no longer stressed if it's in the house," means that the mental compulsion is gone, because we all know what it was like when we knew that there was 2 beers hidden in the back of the refrigerator, and you're just obsessing on those 2 beers until they're gone. And then you're obsessing about going out and buying more. I mean, so the fact that you're no longer that hamster on that wheel is fabulous. Congratulations. Keep it up. Stay compliant. Keep your drink log and stay engaged. I'm really, really happy for you.
And then we've got Mr. Frosty. Says, "Hey CC, love you, love all your books, from cooking to being good looking." With a little smiley face on there. So I identified a lot of the experiences you wrote about in Babylon Confidential. Thank you for the work you've done and continue to do to help folks have options to start on their recovery. From Matt, 5 years sober this July.
Oh my God, Matt, that's awesome. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you, and thank you. I think I can speak for both Jenny and of course for myself, that this job that we do, this work that we do, is so satisfying and joyful when we hear that people's lives have changed for the beginning, for the better, from TSM. It's just reinforces every single thing we do every single day. Hearing your stories, hearing the challenges, hearing the small wins, the big wins, it's wonderful. We're in this together, and I'm just so excited for all of you who are committed to trying TSM, because it is life-changing. And there can be bumps in the road, but just know that if you stick to it, if it's working for you and you fall off, get back on because it worked for you the first time. There's no shame, there's no judgment. We just want you to stay committed, stay focused, stay engaged, and enjoy your life now that you have it back. That's the most important thing. I'm really grateful for all of you being here. It invigorates me every time I do one of these and talk to people out there that are having good successes or having some struggles. It's just, we're, like I said, we're in this together, and you can do it. You can do it. You're gonna feel defiant, and I don't want to change my habits. One day you're gonna wake up and say it's not working for me, and I'll change a small habit. I love Jenny's idea of the 10-minute increments, because sometimes things can be really daunting, and so just let's make it easy on you. Let's make it as easy as possible on you, but you got to put in a little bit of effort. Help that tablet along, that one little pill, that magical tablet that saved a lot of our lives. Let's give it a helping hand.
And then we've got one more that just popped up from N. Smith. It says, flew from Miami to Detroit this morning. no one to keep an eye on me. And it was the first time I can ever remember being 100% sober, start to finish, on a travel day.
That's huge. I used to love drinking when I traveled. Oh my God. And I remember being on my first transatlantic flight and realizing, oh my God, I just told the hostess not to offer me alcohol because I just genuinely didn't want to drink. So I hear you. That is awesome. Isn't that a wonderful feeling? Of also, your immune system is going to be so much better because you didn't drink alcohol. And here we are in the middle of a pandemic. You are such a smart person to do that right now because alcohol lowers your immune system so dramatically.
And
So
anecdotally, Claudia, I mean, I remember, I mean, you were still occasionally drinking for the first 5 years that I worked with you at C3, and every time you went somewhere, you would always come back fighting something. You would always get sick. I
yeah,
don't think you have been sick once since you stopped drinking.
no,
Because
no.
it was several times a year. Every time you would go anywhere, you would come back and you would have to spend 2 or 3 days fighting off some sort of cold or losing your voice and all of this stuff. And it just struck me right now that I don't recall you being sick at all since you stopped drinking entirely.
Nope, nope. It is remarkable what it does for your immune system. I used to catch everything. And even when I was drinking only once in a while, it lowered my immune system substantially. I wasn't abusing alcohol, but I was still drinking. And I'll tell you, it absolutely does, especially when traveling, when you're exposed to all of those germs and the stress of traveling and the disruption of your sleep and all that stuff. You add alcohol into the mix and you're gonna pay the price. So bravo for you for having your first flight alcohol free, plus all of the airports and the bars. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
because that's a
fantastic.
really easy place. You're sitting there, you're bored.
People are drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning in a bar, and nobody in an airport, and nobody looks at them like they're funny because
Yeah,
they
because
don't.
they're not driving, so people just,
It's acceptable.
yeah.
It's totally acceptable, and it's a very common place to start off on the wrong foot on business trips, and you're away from the family, you can get away with it, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge feather in your cap, my friend. Congratulations.
And to, you know, also back up what Claudia said, yeah, speaking for myself, I love hearing all of the success stories. I love going on to any of the three um, peer support groups that we run, or any of the other 3 or 4 that I help advise on, and seeing those success stories. Um, I mean, I don't know about you, Claudia, but maybe we should have a stream where we collect a bunch of stories and you and I just take turns reading people's success stories live on the air. And how about you, audience? Is that something that you guys would like to see? Because let's face it, success stories feel good. Success stories help boost our endorphins. Everybody hearing this, we
Yeah.
we have, we're the human body and mentality. We are built for empathy. We are built for shared experiences. And yeah, I'm seeing some people talking about how that would be really awesome. So I think so Claudia and some of the people that you talk with, see if anybody would like us to read their story with or without their name. It really doesn't matter if their name is attached to it or if it's anonymous. Those of you who
I
are
love
listening, you can, if you use the contact form on the C3 Foundation website, that comes directly to my email, and we can grab your information there, and spread the news on social media for people to contact us. We could easily spend an hour or two literally just sharing the wonderful success stories that so many people have. Because
you know
this
this.
can be a very it can be tough what Claudia and I do because we hear so many heartbreaking stories day in and day out, and we see people struggle, and we deal with a lot of people who have no other support system, and we hear from family members that say, I wish that my family member had known about this method because maybe they'd still be alive today. And those, it can really weigh down because we know we are trying to change an entrenched system that has been around for nearly 100 years, and we're trying to buck that system with something that is so much better and so much more successful than telling people, well, just stop. That's all you need to do. Just stop. Because obviously that doesn't work. And so, with all of that stress and trauma that we see secondhand, both of us just light up when we see those success stories because that's why we get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
It's so it's so common for us to share the different success stories we see on social media. We'll send the other the link in the morning. Hey, did you see this? Because this is a great story. Because it's the positivity that drives us as well, knowing that we can help see and help people be empowered to make their own changes. Because it's not about us fixing anybody. It's not about Claudia fixing anybody when she's coaching. It's about us empowering you and giving you the tools and letting you decide how to use them. Yes, we do this stream, Smith. We do this every Wednesday at 4. This seems to be a pretty good, lively time. So for right now, we're gonna keep that through pretty much, probably the at least the end of March. And we've got somebody out there, always left unsupervised, is giving away. Looks like they've given a gift subscription to our channel. That was very generous. Thank you. So yeah, we'll start working on that. We'll see what we can gather.
I think we'll have enough content for Journeys Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we run out of stories, I can read from the book too.
Absolutely. And Mr. Frosty just subscribed as well. Thank you very much.
Frosty.
Yeah, those subscriptions definitely help us along, so we appreciate that, and that's awesome. We've got Claudia, you can't see it because you don't have Twitch up and you're just on my Zoom.
No,
but we've got subscribers coming in right now. We've got this little alert box that pops up, and this is awesome. It's
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, because
I can't keep my Twitch on because it screws it up.
Yeah.
I am running dangerously low on battery as well, but I will be here barring any acting gigs or anything. I'll be here next Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate people who signed up for the Crusaders and people who subscribed here on our Twitch channel. I always appreciate you, Jenny. We've worked out many, many kinks. You have specifically in our Twitch world. Yeah, and this is exciting. This is exciting. I do appreciate those positive experiences, but I also appreciate the struggle ones too, because we all learn from it. So
we do.
Thank you for sharing your stories, everybody, and asking questions and participating in these events.
And thank you, Mr. Frosty, for gifting tier 1 subs after tier 1 subs. This is awesome. We really, really appreciate you. We've got a couple of graphic design volunteers who are working on different emotes and sub icons and things for you. So we do have those in the works and on the way. But we appreciate you being here week after week, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. So thank you for taking a couple hours out of your afternoon, Claudia. I think this was a great talk, and thank you for everybody who's listening. And uh, again, it's easy to share the videos. We do have a donation link in our About area. And otherwise, we will see you out and about on our social media and stay in touch. We'll see you next week. We appreciate you all being here. So be good to yourselves, stay compliant to the protocol, and have a great week, guys.
Thank
Thank
you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I am down to
Just a
the
second. We're still hot.
oh.